All right, good afternoon. It's 3:30. We have one nomination on the agenda this afternoon. Actually, we had two. The other one was not able to make it this afternoon, so we're going to work on rescheduling that person. So what we have, I'm going to call up Senate nomination 82, Michael Anthony Mike Pruitt for the Mississippi State Board of Education, effective immediately expiring on 2031. And this is the Speaker's appointment. So I'm going to turn it over to Senator Blunt to handle the nomination.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Pruitt, if you could please come up to the podium. Thank you for coming to Jackson and the Capitol today. You've been serving for, I guess, about 6-8 months on the board.
Last May.
And could I ask you to turn on hit the green button and just thank you. This is broadcast, so that helps everybody hear you if they're watching online. Is that you good? Okay. Can you briefly tell us a little bit about your background and why you agreed to serve on the State Board of Education?
Sure, I sure can. Thanks for having me. I'm very appreciative of the opportunity to speak to you all. I have spent 14 years on local school boards in 2 different communities, and they were both excellent, high-performing school districts, one in Long Beach on the coast, one in Lamar County, which is where we moved after Katrina. I am a 40-year employee with Mississippi Power Company on the coast, and I'm retiring this month, so April 26th is my last date as an employee. And this opportunity to serve on the state level has been interesting to me for a long time. I've had a couple of discussions with the Speaker over a couple of different years, and some folks on the House side that I'm friends with. And when the appointment opportunity came up and I was asked, I said, this is a new challenge. There is nothing more important in the state of Mississippi, in my opinion, than in economic development than education. And I think we do a great job. I think there's an opportunity for a non-educator to be part of this board and ask the right sort of questions and kind of keep it moving. And I appreciate the opportunity.
Are there any issues that you're particularly interested in or focused on during your time on the board?
I am on the subcommittee for the CTE, which is Career and Technical Education. I know both of my children graduated from Mississippi public schools and Mississippi universities. I'm sorry to say they've both gotten professional degrees and moved out of state. I hate to see that, but I know there's a cohort of our students in this state that are college bound, and there's a cohort in this state that is not necessarily college bound. And I'm very interested in the CTE efforts of what we do.
Okay. Thank you very much. If any other members of the committee have any questions, I'm sure the chairman will recognize you.
Senator Boyd.
Sorry. Mr. Pruitt, I see on your resume that you served on 2 different school boards. Can you tell me what you learned from serving on those 2 different school boards? One was a county school board, and I believe one was a municipal school board. Can you tell us kind of what you learned in that process?
So the municipal school board was an appointed position. The county school board was an elected position. So I learned something just in that process. I'll tell you now. Thank you. You took that the way I meant it. I was instructed by some of the administration at MDE that there is a grand difference in how the local boards operate and their jurisdiction over operational matters and policy matters on the local level. And that's not how it would be on the state level. And I was told you should be aware of that our role as an MDE board member is very different. I don't know that I'm answering your question as much to tell you that I recognize how true that is. And every day I attend another meeting, I look up and go, my role is very different in this function, because answering to, on one side, the legislature, on the other side, the local school districts, it's a completely different function. Now, I was involved in my community in a number of ways. I was not a school board member only and showed up. I was very involved. Like I said, I had 2 kids that were in school, and I see the ins and outs of how the community operates and what the community expects from its school districts.
This is more of a statement, and to the committee, it's gonna sound like a broken record. I've asked this of, Dr. Evans, who we look forward to working with, and then I've also asked it to another person that was for reappointment to the school district. I have a child with special needs, and for many years, I worked with the State Department of Education as a volunteer and many councils and stuff like that in special education. We have not made the progress that we should have made in this state when you look at other states around us of how we educate children with special needs. I'm going to ask you to take special attention to that, to really push us to raise the bar, because when you learn how to educate a special education child, you learn how to educate every child. And so I'm going to ask you, as I've asked everybody else, to pay special attention to that when you are on the board, because it is a definite need in our state. And these children, many can be very prosperous and and many are twice exceptional. But if we are not educating them in the state and just simply babysitting them, there is no hope for that. So I'm going to ask you to take that as a special cause.
Thank you. So noted. Our obligation is to every student in the state of Mississippi equally, and I support that premise.
Thank you, Senator Boyd. And Mr. Pruitt, I was looking through the peer report, which is dated March 25th of this year. It says that you indicated you filed your statement of economic interest for 23, but according to the Ethics Commission, it only lists this 2017 as the most recent one. So I would just encourage you to, if confirmed, to look into that. And if it's not been filed, then go ahead and take care of that as well. So.
Thank you, sir. As of about 9:30 this morning, it has been filed.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Okay, I'll recognize Senator Wiggins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question. Is this filling in an unexpired term, or are you filling in an unexpired term? Have you
No, sir.
been
No.
nominated before? You're on the board right now, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I think my predecessor was asked to maintain her role on the board until my appointment was made. So I don't think I have a full 8-year appointment or 9-year appointment. I think I have an 8-year and 2-month appointment is how that math works.
That's correct. His previous person, she stayed on the board a little bit longer.
Who was that? We know.
She was the board president at the time, Rosemary Altman. And so the speaker appointed Mr. Pruitt in May of last year. And I will tell you, the committee, I did speak with the speaker's office, and they are approving of Mr. Pruitt going forward versus appointing the new speakers, making the appointment and so forth.
You answered one of my questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Second, I think I like what I see here. I just want to ask, we've made a lot of progress in the state of Mississippi. And so what do you see, or how can we go about continuing that and not what I call backsliding? I always have a fear that we're going to rest on our laurels, and with MDE, with the legislature, with teachers, we've all made progress. And in my opinion, y'all set the policy, kind of the guide for that. How do you see that working?
So I have come on to this board at a time where we were performing at a very, very high level. And everything I have seen from the moment that I was seated was that they're continuing on a quest to look at its subgroups, its schools, individual schools that don't perform, individual districts that aren't performing, to bring everybody up to standards. There's accountability, there's early learning collaborative efforts that are continuing to be emphasized as I witness sitting on the board. Going backwards is not an option.
Thank you. And I'm glad you brought that up. Near and dear to my heart is the early learning collaborative. In Lamar County, y'all have had some of the best. And it would be fabulous if if that level of success and support was spread even further through the state. What's your thoughts on that,
My first thought is thank you. And I was one of the ones that as a board member on the local level, that we said, we've got to put these resources in early learning and all the things before these children move into kindergarten in our community. It was a little bit difficult for the board to understand why that was a priority. We trusted our administration. We allowed that to happen and immediately saw results. Absolutely, it was the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do on a state level. And we've got some tremendous folks in the MDE staff that are working towards that. I'm very impressed with what I see in the building across the street.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Wiggins. Any other questions? Senator McClendon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you for your willingness to serve. When does Mississippi Power or the electric co-ops, what age did they start hiring? 18, 21?
Yes.
Both of those,
Yes, sir.
depending on what position?
18 depends on what the role is. That's right.
How could we better students to be ready to go into a job at an electric co-op?
You know, on the CTE, that's one of the things we talk about, and maybe one of the reasons I was selected to be on that subcommittee. What do we look for? We look for partnerships with industry for development. That's an opportunity that we haven't maximized yet. There's a lot of companies in the state that are doing that already. But just like we look at hiring teachers and keeping teachers on staff, not so different in industry, that we have a hard time with getting quality candidates to stay, and trying to understand that the quality candidates we find might have different expectations than me when I was a new hire. So this new generation, like I said, I've got an attorney and a dentist, and I think they're in my family, and I think their expectations as young people are different than my expectations. That's a challenge we're going to have to, nationwide, we're going to have to get a hold of. It's interesting.
Are there things that we could be doing in tech schools to better get these kids ready to go into an electric co-op?
I think there's a number of programs across the state. I know my company was involved in one of them with a couple of high schools. There's a high school, the Petal School District, which is close to where I live, is involved with a co-op development type program. Again, it's a collaborative between industry and the schools. I think everything I have seen from MDE, and I'm looking at my MDE folks here next to me, there's a big effort in trying to continue to develop that and make it even stronger. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator McClendon. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Senator Blunt, do I hear a motion? Okay, you've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Pruitt. You've made it through the committee and we appreciate it. And so I'll take the bill up on the floor before we sine die. I can't say exactly when, but thank you very much, sir. Have a motion, rise and report. Rise and report. Everybody, make sure you leave your peer report for Christy to pick up, please.